Hello and welcome back to San Alchemy Podcast, the place where we talk about everything related to being a musician in this day of the Lord, year of Lord of 2022. So go to your screen. I'm gonna fix that issue with the monitor.
Hello, girls and boys. How's it going? Very glad to be back, and it's great to have you here as well. So today we actually have an interesting conversation to have with you, which is exploring a little bit the notion of what makes a musician legit and what makes a musician a sellout.
Exactly.
Or if it's even possible for a musician to be both at the same time.
I think you can. Because they are not necessarily mutually exclusive.
No, I suppose we're going to find out throughout this conversation.
So first and foremost, how could you define the concept of being a sellout?
I think being a sellout means shaping what you do based entirely on how it's going to be received by people.
Or successfully from a financial perspective, would you say as well?
Yeah, but that's as a consequence of that.
Yeah, good point, because it's a consequence, because there are some who are sellouts or considered sellouts just because they do everything that would give them clout, make them popular rather than being... Because popularity doesn't necessarily speaking translates into success.
No.
Financially speaking.
Yeah, it can, but
but it's not necessarily.
Yeah.
Because they're not related either. It's just a consequence of one could be a consequence of the other.
Yes.
And usually is wealth is the consequence of popularity when it comes to music. In these cases.
Yeah.
Because there are very great examples of our musicians who happen to be quite wealthy and successful financially speaking, but not necessarily popular.
Yes.
Those are rare, but they exist.
Yeah.
And this begs the question how they manage to make the fortune. Easy. Selling more than music.
Yeah.
We will be diving into that later.
Yes.
But first, if we go from that point, or using that definition of what sellout stands for, would you find, or can you find any form of redeeming factor to that? Or why do you think somebody would pursue that sellout route? Why or how could someone become a sellout?
Look, I think the first thing that I want to make clear about the way I look at this matter is that I think that every musician should have some measure of selloutness. Selloutness, regardless. You get what I mean.
Yeah.
What I mean by that is not that you should necessarily delegitimize your work as a musician, but what I mean by this is that you should be concerned to some degree, and the measure of that is something that is up to debate, how what you're doing as a musician is going to be perceived by people, or it's going to be received by your audience.
Okay.
If it's actually going to relate to them, if it's actually going to cause a positive impact, and also if it's going to sell. I think music business is called music business for a reason. There's a business side to it.
Yes.
And being able to sell your music, which is the product that us musicians produce.
Among many others. On that later, because
yes.
I have many things to say about that.
Yes, important distinction, but the main one is music.
Yeah.
And
music oriented, yeah.
Yes. And I think it should be commercial. Yeah,
commercially speaking, should be viable.
Viable, yeah. You should be able to find a niche and find an audience that would actually buy your product.
Yes. Yeah, because otherwise, how can you continue pursuing a career?
Yeah.
So in that regard, I agree with you, because any form of venture you pursue in life, first, for the vast majority I would even dare to say that from a very, very generalized perspective, everything we do is driven by passion. Even greed, because why would you be, when someone is greedy, is because they're passionate about what? Earning money.
Yeah.
Being wealthy.
Yeah.
So even that could be considered passion driven. Of course, there is a material aspect to it that separates it and makes it different from other passions or other pursuits of the derivative of passions, such as creating beautiful sounding music or meaningful music in that regard. So if we consider, look at that, if we consider that the whole pursuit of music starts from a place of passion, I would like to agree, or I would like to consider that the vast majority of musicians, if not all, starts off by pure passion alone.
Yeah.
It could be either their passion for music, their passion for behind they're interested in communicating with other people through a much more deeper means other than just reading or spoken word. And even the whole idea of expressing yourself through the use of more than words, it's already the result of the pursuit of something through passion. So with that being said, do you think there is a point on which passion becomes or goes the sideway, and it's seen as something that could get in the way of the pursuit of success, financial success, or fame and glory?
Look, I think that the way that you framed it, the whole thing with passion, and different presentations for passion, let's say passion for expressing yourself through music, or passion for the recognition that you're gonna get through music, for instance.
One more thing, all of them are not mutually exclusive as well.
No, they're not.
You can be driven by all of them, even more, because those are the ones that came to mind.
I think that if you, as an artist, you're making music and your passion, as a different word for your emotions, are leading the way, are the ones actually that are the driving force behind your compositions, the driving force behind your artistry, regardless of what passions are those, I think that's gonna turn into legit music. If it's good or bad, that's something that's a different conversation.
Okay, can you elaborate more on the concept of legit music? What do you mean by that?
I think legit, at least the way I understand it, and it's actually, I'll leave it open as a question if you want to express what you consider to be a legit musician, but I feel that it's a musician that has the driving force behind his music making, his own ideas, his own emotions, what he wants to express.
That doesn't mean that it's good.
That doesn't mean that it's good.
But it's honest.
Yeah, that's yeah. Because if it's good or bad, that's something that depends on many other factors.
Yeah.
But I would call that legit.
Yeah.
Because let's say even something that is as simple and straightforward as electronic dance music.
Yes.
Okay. Which is something that, compared to other genres of music, can be seen as simpler. It is in its structure.
But it's because it's dance music. It's not meant to make you cry.
Yeah, but exactly. I think coming from someone that enjoys that kind of music, that enjoys that kind of environment, that actually wants to promote not necessarily a form of expression through the music, it's just trying to give people a good time. That is honest.
It is.
And I respect that.
Me too.
I don't see any issue with that.
Me too.
I actually think that is more respectable than, let's say, somebody that doesn't really have anything to say, trying too hard to come up with music that is overly complex, for instance.
Yeah.
But that has no substance, that has no actual soul.
Get you. That's where we get to the territory of something akin to, what could it be? Not poser, because a poser is somebody who's trying to look the part but not doing the walk.
But there's some correlation.
But there is some correlation because you're a tryhard, for lack of a better term. You're just trying to be more than what you can actually do.
Yeah.
And it's very tiresome. To be frank, dealing with that kind of music is well. It's not. I don't even know how close they are to music. When it's that self-indulgent.
Yeah.
Because there is that element as well when it comes to being a musician, in which you have to do the balancing act of how much of what you're doing can only be understood by yourself.
Yeah.
And how much of it it's actually easy to be appreciated by the masses.
Yeah.
Because at least that's how I see things. You write music for yourself, but for that music to be listened and enjoyed by others.
Yeah.
I don't know if it makes sense.
It does, and I think it's a very important point to be explored, because I think people usually stick only to the first portion of that statement, as if, okay, is my music, I do whatever I want.
But I think both happens, because the self-indulgent is the one that sticks to the first one, while the sellout only focus on the second one.
Agreed. And that's why I mentioned in the beginning, I don't know if it was clear, but it's becoming clearer now, that I do think we should have a mix of both. Because I think music, as an artist, as someone using music as a form of expression, you make music for you first.
Yeah.
That's a given. But that doesn't mean that the way that people are going to perceive it shouldn't be taken into consideration.
Yeah. Because you can have bad taste.
You can.
That doesn't make you a better artist.
No.
Yeah, because being an artist, calling yourself an artist doesn't mean that you're devoid of bad taste. And some of your takes would be in poor taste, or you simply have a lack of understanding of what aesthetics means in a much more condescending way, if you want to use that word. No, more like a more condensed and more objective way of thinking.
Yeah.
Because music, as basically everything we perceive as beautiful, is based on aesthetics.
Yeah.
And just because you might like it doesn't mean that it's beautiful. That means that you like it. It's not beautiful.
Yeah.
And beauty is measured by how there right now it's escaping out of my head, but there's a philosopher that defined it by a set of rules, and one of them is proportionality. One of them is accordance to reality, and also how much of nature is being presented through it. Right now, I'm not gonna go deep into it because for whatever reason I'm not that I don't have it fresh in my mind. But even sticking to the whole thing of it being in accord to reality, what you are presenting to me is sensical at an emotional level because you're trying to bring sense to emotion, of course, because emotions are reactions, are reactionary. So if you are feeling in a certain way, there is a reason, there is a cause to that effect, right?
Yeah.
So musically speaking, a legit act would be one that, a legit good act would be one that just by playing a few chords, you don't need to know as an audience what happened to that guy.
Yeah.
But you feel it.
Yeah.
You get it.
Yeah.
Because what he's portraying through his music makes sense.
Yeah.
Even though you don't know the story behind it, but you feel it.
Yeah.
Get me?
Yeah, no, I get you. And it's at the very core of what makes music such an amazing part of the human experience is that even though each of us as individuals have a different story, has different backgrounds to our emotions, the way that music managed to present emotions in a more
Universal,
more abstract presentation rather than just a description of it, we can relate to emotions by other people, even though what maybe triggered that emotion in us is completely different from what triggers in them.
Agreed.
Because the backgrounds are completely different, but the emotion is the same.
Totally.
And music, when done correctly, is going to be able to capture that emotion and make it tangible to a large group of people.
100%. And that's what makes music so, the word that I used, universal. Because it's not that a musician is capable of communicating with everybody through music, but it's music that can allow for a musician, or it can allow a musician to be able to communicate with others through it.
Yeah.
Because it's not the musician who is the one who communicates with each other. It's music what allows for that communication to happen.
Yeah.
I don't know if that makes sense, man, because I want a little bit more abstract. Let me elaborate more, because the things that a good musician, one that is not a sellout, is one that is capable of making the message manifest in the collective mind and soul of the audience. Because if you can connect with a musician, think of one of your best, your favorite artist, right? Try to think how can that guy or gal is capable of making you feel the way they do. You might be saying, well, it's because the music, those chords, that progression, that melody makes me feel that way. Why? And the more you start to dig around that question, or the more you dig around trying to understand the why, the deeper it becomes. Because you start to see that the connection is even more and more and more and more intimate. And you're talking about somebody that you will never meet in your life. And chances are you will, because maybe they already passed away. Think of Jimi Hendrix, for example. None of us had the chance to ever meet the guy.
Yeah.
And still, we connect with him.
Yeah.
Why? Because he understood music to the point of him being able to create and communicate himself through the eons of time without being affected by the passing of time.
Yeah.
Look at that.
Yeah. That's the power of music.
It is.
Look, even kind of going deeper down into the idea of what makes music legit, I think that phenomenon that you're describing only happens when the motivation for the making of music is real.
It's true, right?
It's true. And without being artsy-fartsy about it, but like, if you have something to say, be it an emotion that you want to share, be it an idea that you want to express through music, that's meaningful to you first, and then you're gonna find a way through music to make it meaningful to other people.
Totally.
And that is what creates this correlation, this connection that you were describing. Yeah, this connection that you were describing. Because on the other end, you have music done with the purpose of generating this connection, rather than the connection being a consequence of it being done as an expression.
Oh, good, you good.
And you have, let's say, just to make it a little bit more pinpointed and practical in this approach. Nowadays, a lot of, especially mainstream modern music, is done not by an artist, or is really not by an artist, but by a group of people, producers deciding what kind of music would has the biggest chances of being successful, given culture, anything, many factors.
Yeah, but it's not the pursuit of cultural relevancy, man. It's the pursuit of financial success.
Yes.
Full on.
Yeah, but then imagine that, like, as a counterpoint to everything that we've been talking about up to this point. Imagine that as being the driving force for making music.
Yeah.
Is there any chance that music made like that can have the same impact or the same connection generated between artist and audience as what you were describing before?
No, and we already have proof of it. Do you remember that "You're my butterfly, sugar, come my lady"? No, you just remember it because I mentioned it right now.
Yeah.
And it was everywhere. I don't remember the band or the name of the song, but it was everywhere when I was a kid.
It was.
Every freaking where. Zero cultural relevancy. Nobody remembers the song, and if it's remembered, it's out of a meme. Being very frank.
Yeah.
And it was astroturf into oblivion, man. Everybody, everywhere you went back in the early 2000s, you would hear that piece of ass. Regardless of how much you try to avoid it, it will happen.
Yeah.
And nobody remembers the track, and it was everywhere. So yeah, you got proof already.
Yeah.
And that's super recent. 20 years ago. Okay. Do you remember anything? What happened to those guys that were the I don't remember the song.
Who they
that
are.
one.
Yeah.
That was also everywhere. Where are they? What happened? Do you remember the name of the song, man?
No.
No. And it was the hit of the summer. So those songs are clearly products, man.
Yeah.
Were they successful? Yeah. And if somebody has some form of fondness for them, is out of remembering, because there is a huge correlation between our memories and sound.
Yeah.
So a good chunk of those songs that are still cherished by many people are only cherished by the same group of people that were young when they were playing it.
Yeah.
Think about that.
Yeah.
Because why would you, objectively speaking, defend something that is clearly just for money-making purposes, man?
Yeah.
Because what will happen, for example, to Taylor Swift? The same what happened to these guys.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of time for the generation to grow up.
Yeah.
And you're already seeing it, because you got the whole thing with her replacement, Sabrina Carpenter, and it's not taking off, man. She's making millions. Of course she is, because she's part of the same machine.
Yeah.
But she's not as successful, and she's not the force of culture that Taylor Swift still is.
Yeah. Yeah.
And see what happens to other artists, performers such as Shakira. The same platoon.
Yeah.
The same as Beyonce.
Yeah.
Huge names.
And it's important to do this kind of comparisons, because when you look from a present time perspective, it's very hard to think that someone with as big of attraction as Taylor Swift still has right now, because she still does, can actually be obscured in years to come. But just looking at what happened to some artists that came before, you can tell that yes, it happens, and it more than likely will happen to her as well.
Yeah.
Because Shakira is actually a good example. She was huge. She was probably
gigantic
bigger than Taylor Swift is right now, when she was at her peak.
The Black Eyed Peas.
Yeah.
You see?
As well, monumental.
Yeah, gigantic everywhere, man. But they didn't hold any form of cultural relevancy, man. Because they were just popular in their time, out of marketing, not out of actually impacting the music in a way that actually meant something. Think of Janis Joplin.
Yeah.
Super short career. We're still talking about her.
And we will keep talking about her.
Why? Because her music meant something. Her performances are legendary. Why? They are real.
Yeah.
Passionate. You see actual intent. She truly wanted to express herself through the use of her voice. And it shows, man. We still talk about her, and we'll keep talking about her for the rest of our life and time in this realm.
Look, analyzing a little bit more what happens with legit music. Thinking of Janis Joplin, for instance, the honesty factor that you portrayed, the idea that she was actually expressing something and the audience was reacting to the reality of what she was doing, like the honesty of what she was doing. She didn't have to try to do anything that would work for her audience. She was just being herself, expressing herself as she would, and her audience was in agreement with that. That connection is a solid connection.
Yes.
If, on the other end, you have some of the approach of the modern take on this matter, you're trying to mold yourself into what's gonna sell, that, of course, by its very definition, is gonna be short-lived.
Totally.
Because you can't lie either to yourself or to your audience forever.
Yeah, exactly. At one point, they're gonna see that you got nothing to offer.
Yeah.
And here Roman Galindo is saying,
Hey, how's it going?
he's saying, if you get a good PR deal and write good music, I think you can be successful. Yes, that's also a reality, because you got examples such as Peter Gabriel. Well, the things that he's not only a great musician, but also I think he's a genius when it comes to presenting as a visual medium. When it comes to presenting himself through a visual medium, rather, because back in the day when he was part of Genesis, he was actually the attention grabber.
Yeah.
The music, of course, is fantastic, and back in the day, can you mind attending to one of their concerts? It was amazing, of course, but a good chunk of what is remembered of those early performances is him dressing up on the stage with all sorts of crazy. For example, you have seen him with the dress up as a flower.
Yeah.
Have you seen that one?
Yeah.
Also, Foxtrot, when they released that album, he hit the stage wearing a red dress and a fox.
Yeah.
A mask. Like, the hell is that, man? Clearly, very much a good reason why just to go there and say, what the hell is he gonna do today? But then you listen to the music, mind blown, excellent. And when he went solo, he kept doing that, but with the experience of understanding how the business actually worked.
Yeah.
Bam, instant, mega blockbuster success, man.
Yeah.
And keeping the balance right between being popular but also being extremely legit when it came to the development of his music.
Yeah, 100%. And look, the thing is that he is a great showcase for basically the entirety of this conversation.
Yeah.
Because not only he nailed the balance in between music being legit, properly done, meaning something, plus the theatrics that were clearly to make the music sell more.
Yeah.
They were with commercial purposes. They were not with artistic purposes. But first, balance, and secondly, order.
Yes.
You can see that it was a balancing act. The music was never dropped in quality because the antics went up. No. The music was always very consistently good. And secondly, you could always tell the music came first.
Yes, I was able to make the comment that the theatrics are based on the music.
Yeah.
They are a response to the music, or they are there to match the music itself.
Yeah.
Because there is this famous concert of him live in Athens, I think, in the mid-'80s, right after the huge success of So. And it's a fantastic live performance. They're rocking, everybody's on wireless, even him, because it was the super hot thing to do. So he's rocking the headset, and somehow he doesn't sound off. The thing is that for those of you who don't know, headsets, singing on a headset is not necessarily speaking the best thing you can do, because it's gonna be very hard for you to find a very good sounding headset. And of course, being Peter Gabriel at that stage in his career, I think he got the best.
Yeah, he had access to the best of
the best. So the sound of his voice sounds fantastic. Also, it's not for every singer, because if you are a very loud singer, you're not lasting it. So that's why his vocal style makes sense. So whatever, I digress. Everybody's rocking a very, very high tech, by those years' standards, performance, electric drums and stuff. It's fantastic, man. It looks, feels, and sounds the way it should. And they are even doing all sorts of theatrics on the stage. They're coordinated, of course. They have choreographies. Yeah. And every musician knows what to do. So everything looks super, super well crafted. And it gives this extra layer of, and this dimension that makes total sense with the music. Yeah. Because think of something like, I don't know, with all the respect, but think of NSYNC. that's a good example of,
Hey, don't attack it in sync.
man.
Come on.
If we were to defend somebody, I would defend the Backstreet Boys, clearly. But NSYNC is clearly a product of its time, right?
Yeah.
But that's a good example of the visuals comes on top of the actual substance.
Yeah. And on that regard, they were actually honest about it.
Yeah.
I don't ever think nobody ever considered NSYNC a fantastic musical act.
No, but they were a good performer.
Yeah, this for the show.
Yeah.
And for the looks. Not that they looked great, but regardless.
Yeah, well, I know what you mean. I know what you mean, because they were honest, at least when it came to describing the product.
Yeah.
And selling that product.
Yeah.
So yeah, now let's make the big distinction, or let's try to come back to the original question. How can a musician nowadays balance both? Because we're living in a world in which the whole concept of being discovered and stuff, well, it's kind of becoming archaic. Because right now, who is the biggest stars? And this is something that I always mention whenever I have the chance. Right now, who is the biggest star? It's not Will Smith, man. It's Asmongold or Tucker Carlson.
Yeah.
It's basically YouTubers, streamers, influencers in general. And Asmongold, from what I know, he became popular out of playing World of Warcraft and live streaming it. Let that sink in. No money involved in the back end. So the whole idea of being signed in order to manage success is becoming more and more less of a defining factor. And don't believe me, just look around, do your own research. You'll find that most of the people who are actually dictating culture nowadays are not part of this ancient monolithic structure. They are actually the result of the internet. Just think of those girls that are so poor that they have to sell photos just to show the world that they are that poor that they don't have access to clothing, because that it's only for certain fans. We cannot say the name of the website.
You can't?
No.
That bad?
It's that bad. But you know exactly what I mean. I mean with this, they're not part of the industry.
No.
Of that industry, and they are making much more money than the industry itself. Does that make sense to you? Is it clear now? Because there are ways to do it.
Yeah.
Because the PR deal that Raman is mentioning, yeah, he's correct. The thing is that we're starting to get into a completely different. I wouldn't use zeitgeist, more of a diaspora. It's very different moment in time.
Yeah. The way the game is played is changing
It's changing dramatically and faster than ever, I may say, because somebody who has the right understanding of how to make yourself commercially viable online, and understanding that the game is played by investing on the marketing efforts, has a very good chance of becoming competitive. And here Roman is coming back.
Yeah.
Alice Cooper said back in the 70s that he could shock people really easy. These days he says that even kids are no longer shocked, so his music and sound needs to be of a higher quality. That's a good point. See how much the competitive aspect is now part of the whole music production ordeal. Look, right now, because this is not about mixing or music production, but we have another channel for that. That's one of the things that I put a lot of emphasis on. I think the more musician should be at least knowledgeable enough when it comes to understanding how music is produced, how music is mixed. It doesn't have to become a mixer or music producer for that matter, but any self-respected musician who is actually aspiring to get something out of this industry has to know a little bit of the whole ordeal behind the production of music, so the craft allows for it to be competitive. Because think about this. Nowadays, every musician has the chance to be on the same outlets as Metallica and every single one of those big ass acts, right?
Right here. The internet.
On the internet, through the internet, right? Because that's where music takes place now. It's no longer on the radio. It died a good chunk of time ago. So with that being said, your music has to be, or is going to be compared quality-wise to everybody's. You have no longer the excuse of, it's because I'm indie. My budget doesn't allow for it. Does it? Because music production nowadays, high-end music production, is way cheaper by orders of magnitude than you might think. For real. It's not cheap. I would rather say affordable.
Yeah.
It's accessible.
It's within reach.
Professionally produced stuff is approachable and is within reach.
Yeah.
But it's far from being uberly expensive, and it's within the reach of a good chunk of people. Hashtag not all, of course, a good chunk of people, and even if you are not necessarily speaking capable of paying for it right now, you can save up. There is a chance.
Yeah.
There's a way. The issue is that is no longer stopping there. Quality is something that it's expected from you. You get a sound in a certain way.
Yeah.
Otherwise, people won't care. That's thing number one. Secondly, everybody has access to the same tools. Everybody has access to the same quality when it comes to or at least access to the same engineers and producers, right? So that means one thing: how can I be seen? Because the competitive aspect of music, the ceiling has become higher and higher, because now everybody has access to the same tools as Metallica, or at least the same outlets.
Yeah.
That's when the whole marketing game kicks in.
Yeah.
So, in my opinion, that's where the industry is heading towards. Not even the industry, our culture in general, because this what I'm about to say is not exclusive to music, but I think is replicated in all sorts of entertainment and even communication in general. I think nowadays, whoever finds their niche, firstly, caters to it, understands the inner dynamics of that niche, and by niche I mean a community, develops a community around his persona, his craft, his offering, and then understands the mechanics that are involved in the message reaching or the communication taking place, and understands the requirements, energetically speaking, and by energy I mean monies, resources, and the understanding of the management of those resources, they can make it like this.
Yeah.
Truly. I know it because, once again, the thought leaders of our age are influencers.
Yeah.
Are no longer personalities that are put there by the higher echelons.
Yeah.
Once again, think of Tucker Carlson. He dropped out Fox, right?
Yeah.
He's bigger than ever. And he got kicked out, if I recall correctly. Regardless of what do you think about the guy, I'm just using him as an example.
Yeah, of the phenomenon.
The phenomenon, what he did is incredible.
And look, adding to this that you're presenting now, I think we're very close to a gigantic shift, because someone might come up with a counter argument, but look, if what you're saying is true, why we're not seeing a lot of small bands popping up and becoming big? I actually think we're gonna be seeing quite a lot of that soon. We're still kind of stuck in time in a way that all of the monumental musical acts are from at least 30 years ago, and they're still active.
Yeah,
so
somehow.
People are still gravitating towards them.
Yep.
But that, of course, has its days counted, because they can't go on forever.
They will eventually drop out.
And when that happens, I think we're going to see the beginning of an interesting shift. Rather than having, let's say, the entirety of the rock world gravitating around Foo Fighters, you're going to have smaller but still big enough communities around smaller acts.
Exactly, man.
But I'm talking small, but on the scope of the internet. So if we're talking still millions of people, any legit small act can become very successful with that crowd of people.
Yeah, because I remember reading somewhere that you only need 1,000 people, true supporters.
Yeah.
Because if you think about it, if every single one of those guys out of the 1,000 people, you get as a whole the equivalent to $10 per month out of them, dude. You're already monthly.
Yeah.
You're cashing in at 10,000 already.
Yeah.
Monthly. That's a huge salary in many places around the world, man.
Yeah.
So, and that's only 1,000 of people actually following you, turning them into actual supporters. What will happen if you have 2,000, 3,000, 4,000?
Yeah.
And when you're dealing on with something like the internet, which has access to hundreds of millions per day, You see where I'm going with this.
Yeah.
And again, this is not me coming up with crazy, stupid ideas. Once again, those influencers, the millionaires that we are, Jake Paul, all of those guys, those are the pioneers of this new frontier, man.
Yeah.
Right now, we look at them as accidents because we saw him coming out of the woods, man.
But it's the beginning.
It's the beginning.
Yeah.
Because think in terms of a zoomer right now. Someone who is growing up in this environment. For them, those are the movie stars, man.
Yeah.
Somebody who grew up in the 80s, for them, is Tom Cruise. And somehow still is. But, a kid that grows up, let's say grew up during the 2010s, right now might be what, around like 15, 17, 18.
Yeah.
For them, it was Jake Paul and all of those goons, man.
Yeah,
PewDiePie, yeah. Those guys are the actual heroes. Here, Roman is saying, I think music needs message to... Good point. Bob Dylan told John Lennon, his music has no message. And that's when the Beatles started to move away from love songs. I didn't know about that, but that's actually...
piece of trivia,
But makes... Now that I think about it, do you know, Roman, when did that happen? Because I might see the correlation between that and Sgt. Pepper and them becoming badass, the badass Beatles, right?
Yeah.
Or even the White Album. Yeah, okay, good point. But yeah, you are correct, man.
Yeah.
Because look, right now, one of the defining factors of this influencer generation is that they are just dumb. Because think of Logan Paul. Which one is the older one? One of those guys.
Regardless, yeah.
The guy who went to the Japanese forest where people go there and they stop being alive in that forest for whatever reason. That's actually kind of spooky and weird.
Yeah.
And he found somebody who actually did recently.
Yeah.
And he was live streaming and his reaction, well, whatever. For those of you who are on the internet, you know exactly what I'm talking about. For those of you who don't know, well, you already know the story. He became notorious outside of his reach already when that happened, because the whole controversy surrounding that is that his audience was just kids, man.
Yeah.
Or think of Mr. Beast. Who is his audience? Kids. So for them, someone like him is the actual star. And like Roman is saying, if we think in terms of music and we see a musician learning or realizing that that's a new way to be seen, and the music they produce is actually filled with actual content, we really intend. Coming back to the original point that we introduced for this conversation, what makes the difference between meaningful music and not meaningful music at all is the content, man.
Yeah.
There is a substance. And look, I'm gonna pick on what Roman said regarding this interaction between John Lennon and Bob Dylan. Why they stopped writing love songs? My interpretation. Love, even though it's the most universal and probably the biggest emotion we got, and probably the deepest we got due to its complexity, it becomes cheesy. Especially considering that the Beatles at that point were writing cheesy love songs. And I'm not attacking them, get me? But not raw, not tough enough. They were kind of in that platonic description of love rather than rough, the emotion and the repercussions of being in love. And think of someone like, Bob Dylan is a good example. He explored more than just the cheesy love stuff. And if you think about the music that the Beatles produced later on, and when they became badass, when they decided to grow their hair, the emotion portrayed by the music is much more wider. So that substance, that content, plus the reach the Beatles had, that's what actually put them as the kings of modern music. Yeah. Very important.
Yeah, and look, this thing with the Beatles, of course, this is just speculation on my part, okay? But I think it's as good a guess as any.
Yeah.
I feel that they stroked gigantically with in the beginning of their career. They were the biggest musical act in history.
Yeah.
And I think they found something that worked. I think even the Beatles, even though they were very creative throughout their careers, I think that moment in time, the one that Bob Dylan actually had this interaction with the John Lennon, was probably when the Beatles were just operating under, okay, we did this
It works. Stick to it.
let's stick to it. And probably that kind of made their music at that point in time feel less substantial because it was not compatible to who they were at that point in time. It wasn't as mature as them. It was just
Good point.
kind of running on what had worked previously.
Get you?
And so actually even the Beatles, which I consider to be an extremely legit band,
Yeah, 100%.
probably at that point in time they were selling out.
I never stopped to think about it, but you are onto something because if I recall correctly, there was that period of their life in which they were producing like 3 or 2 albums per year, plus touring. Damn.
Yeah.
And producing albums back then was a huge hassle, man. Right now we have access to the computer, and that revolutionized the whole thing. Actually, revolutionized it because it turned it upside down. But back in the day, it was a tedious, laborious, extremely expensive affair.
Yeah.
And then being able to produce at that rate with this level of craftsmanship and precision, plus touring constantly, and even making movies. Remember, they have some shitty movies.
They were everywhere.
Yeah, they were everywhere. How could they do it, man? No wonder why they ended up hitting each other, man.
Yeah.
But once again, yeah, probably they were sticking to the formula,
Yeah.
and that comment could have been actually what changed their way.
Brought them back into
completely.
the,
Yeah, being legit because I never stopped to think about it.
Yeah. And look, just before the arrows come flying,
Yeah.
my view of the Beatles is I have tremendous respect for them, okay?
I don't like him, but I even have a freaking photo of them hanging in here in the studio.
Yeah.
Out of the respect I got for him.
Yeah, the impact that they had on music and
Full on.
humanity itself, being very honest,
Yeah.
is that deep of an impact.
Yep.
So I respect them quite a lot. That doesn't mean that they are devoid of sin. And I consider them, musically speaking, very legit, but they might have had fluctuations. I do think that at that period in time, they were just going with the flow, and the thing that they had so much momentum that even when they weren't delivering to the same level as they did at different points of their career, they were still
Very good.
hitting very hard.
Yeah, they are very unique in that regard.
Yeah. But the thing is that there's a very big difference in between their later stuff, like your White Albums, the Sgt. Peppers, and the stuff in the middle.
Yeah, because the stuff in the middle is the one that is probably the reason why I don't necessarily find myself being a fan, because I do like those older albums, later albums, but probably I got introduced to them through the stuff that happened in between.
Like the Yellow Submarines, and that's...
No, Yellow Submarine, Sgt. Pepper.
No, but there's an album, Yellow
Ah,
Submarine.
yeah, you're correct. Yeah, that's the kind of stuff that... It's kind of not bad, but it's not good, or at least in my opinion.
Yeah.
The thing is that the later stuff is so good, man.
It is
Because it's
fantastic.
basically prog rock, but psychedelic as...
But you see how it feels more mature. It
Yeah,
feels
it
like
does.
they were actually, okay, now they're speaking what their reality at this point in time.
Now, speaking of maturity, again, how or what, how much of an impact that sense of maturity, that development as an individual, has on the legitimacy of an act? Because I'm going to use an example.
Yeah, I can see where you're going, right?
Yeah. How much think of this. You got bands such as Metallica, which happens to be active since probably they were late teenagers, very young. The first album is fantastic,
It is.
but it's not mature at all.
No, but it's honest.
It is honest.
Yeah.
And then you got older stuff by them, and everybody has been part of that conversation if you happen to be a fan of Metallica or rock and roll or even metal in general. They lost something during the early 90s.
Yeah.
Something happened after Black Album. Some people say that they sell out. Some others say that they simply got tired of it. I, for one, I think they got too big too fast. They weren't prepared, and the 90s was just a rock time for them as an individual. And you see when they released that Magnetic, after the debacle that was Saint Anger,
Yeah.
you get an album that I think is improperly maligned. A good chunk of the problems that comes with that album is the stupid loudness of it. It's way too loud.
Yeah.
It's what I think is the loudest record ever.
But it was the style of the times as well.
Yeah, but it's peaking. Get it? It's the point in which, jumping the shark and black feet flipping at the same time.
Yeah. That was cool.
but it's still an album that I think they're trying to go back to the OG, because it has you can feel that the maturity that they developed throughout the dark period during the 90s and early 2000s kind of pushed them back into a much more sensical compositional style. And ever since that album got released, every consequential album has been slightly better. I don't know if they would ever be able to release stuff like they used to do back in the early in the 80s. But at least it's way better than the 90s and 2000.
Yeah.
Now, how much of that maturity do you think comes to play?
Look, I think it's not necessarily a matter of maturity per se. It's a matter of making sense for their actual moment. Because let's say, just using as an example, a band such as Blink-182, all right?
Okay.
They are doing the same now as they were 30 years ago. 30 years? I think they have been around
30 years
for
ago.
30 years already.
Yeah, at least. Yes, they began in the 90s, 95, I think.
So around 30 years. Their stuff didn't diminish in quality
No.
from the time that they became hugely successful. Probably even became better from objective
Standards.
qualitative points. But they are kind of losing relevance, especially their newer stuff. Why? Because there's only two justifications for them to be doing the same. One, they as people haven't matured.
Which I don't think has happened.
Or two, they, from the definitions that we already described throughout this conversation, they sold out. In what way? They are not writing music based on them right now. They are writing music based on what worked.
And what their audience is expecting from them.
Exactly. So it's not that, from the definition that we already came to, that's not legit, because it's just writing music or making music for reasons that are external to expressing what they actually think, what they actually feel, and what they actually are at this point in time.
Get you, and I could make the same argument for Metallica in the 90s.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah,
Because after the huge success that was the Black Album, the follow-up albums are writing still. Even Bob Rock was still involved in the production, I think, of Load. Bob Rock is a producer for the Black Album, yielding the insane result. And he came right after the success of 1987 by Whitesnake. But no,
Was that a streak?
No, he was good. He was good. That guy during the era was like, damn, a stroke of genius. But wherever. Now think about this. Would you say that maturity is what allows for good music to be created, good art? I would say yes. But this begs this question. Well, let me explain why. I would say yes because it is through maturity, through experience alone, that we develop a better sense of what's happening around us. And we develop a much more better understanding of the whole human experience. Through interactions, through results or the lack of, disappointments and successes. All of those little by little shape up. They don't shape up. All of those little by little allow for us to have a better grasp of what happens around us and how the system in which we're part of behaves and develops. In theory, that should allow for better music to be written, better art to be created. Why? Because you got a much better and more substantious source of inspiration. The thing is this: you got a stroke of genius that happens with people who are very young. Let's say Jimi Hendrix, at the very beginning of his career, the few years that he was actually active. How much music he wrote? Not that many, but all of the songs are not only memorable, they are part of the Western canon now. And it doesn't stop there. Also, look at the Beatles. Look at Led Zeppelin. All of the big chungus, most of them wrote their best stuff when they were younger. So what happens there? Because there was a video of Rick Beato doing the rounds, and I think Rick Beato is a very big personality here in the YouTube thing for musicians, right? But I think he's starting to get into his old man shouts at a cloud phase. Because he's saying that it's because, neurologically speaking, the human being, it's at its peak, is most creative when they are younger. Nah. I think what happened with those bands, or those guys, they were talented. They got the chance. They lived in a world in which they could express those ideas that they had. They had the, not privilege, because it's not the word I'm looking for. They had a chance that many more people right now. Yeah. Circumstances. They got lucky. And you must say, all of them? Yeah. Why? Because why do you think it's happening, or all of them comes from the same era? Late 60s, early 70s. All of the members of Pantheon of rock and roll gods. The circumstances allowed for that to happen. Culturally speaking, people were actually given chances. Yeah. The economy was a little bit better than it is today, and it's been for a good while, man. The control over the spread of information still was super controlled, yeah, but the audience was open. It wasn't as square-headed as it is today. I, for one, I have never lived in a world in which rock and roll has been popular ever. Never in my life. But I can't imagine what I can, but I won't go deep into that one. What happened for rock music from being the top of the game in musical speaking and culturally speaking to be not only the underdog, it's basically the ugly sister.
Yeah, kind of.
It's seen as an afterthought by many people when it comes to music. Yeah. Surpassed first by pop music and then totally obliterated by hip hop. So I don't think is being young. I think they already had plenty of experience. Yeah. And they went through many things, emotionally speaking, that allowed them to write those fantastic pieces of music that are still part of what we discuss. Yeah. Because also think in terms of classical music, all of the great composers from eons ago, they were prolific for the entirety of their careers. Yeah. A good chunk of them, not everybody, because not everybody lived long enough. Looking at you, Mozart, but you got some of their best and most renowned pieces come from the later stages of their careers. So now, man, I think experience and living life at its fullest, and truly trying to understand and spending time as an artist, trying to understand what makes life feel the way it does and be what it is. And that's the biggest question. What in the name of F actually life stands for? We are going through it, right? But we don't know what it is. And as an artist, you're trying to find an answer to that question through the use of the artistic expression. Big words. I don't know if it made sense.
No, it does. Look, coming back to the core of the...
and it's still part of being a sellout, man.
Yeah.
Get me?
Yeah. The whole thing with maturity is an interesting point, because I do feel that more maturity can allow for the exploration of deeper, more complex emotions. The thing is, even immature emotions can already be extremely powerful. Yes. And can generate extremely meaningful music.
And look, on that note, sorry for interrupting, but Roman here is saying something important. Metallica started hard and heavy, but producers told them it wasn't radio friendly. They had a choice: stay real to their ideal, and remain broke, or reinvent and make more money. Yeah. It's totally that, man. Because there is that balancing act, man. And see how we're circling back to that very point.
Look, I even think that this can lead to one, not necessarily the final, but one more conclusion for this conversation.
Yes.
This that is using Metallica as an example. Kill 'Em All, their first album, is probably one of the most respected by the people that truly respect Metallica.
Yeah, I happen to be a huge fan of it.
But it's far from their most popular album. And actually, their most popular album is maybe one of the less respected by the core fan base, which is Black Album. Is the most divisive, perhaps.
It's divisive.
Yeah, but it's one that they lost quite a lot of respect from the fan base on that album.
Because of what Roman says?
Exactly, because legitimacy not necessarily is going to gain you popularity, but it's going to gain you respect.
Totally.
And on the other side of the deal, you cannot strive for popularity by selling out and you might achieve it, but it's not gonna get you respect.
And look, when I was working with plenty of bands back in the studio, well, I'm still working, but there was a period in my life in which I was actively producing several musicians. Basically, I met a different group of musicians on a daily basis, right? I was very active in that area. Nowadays, I'm more on the mixing aspect of it, but in that point in time, I was actually working with plenty of musicians. And I had this conversation with one of them, which later became part of the piece of knowledge that I decided to share with the other musicians I met, because that conversation was so insightful that actually changed my perception of many things. Because when I was talking to that guy, we were having a similar discussion to this one. What's the point of making music if I'm gonna be broke in 30 of my life? Maybe respected, but not necessarily rich. If that's the case, well, I can always just get married, get the respect out of my family, and spend my time making money, right? Yeah, that's a tough choice, man. It's up to you. And I told him, and he said, "But so what's the difference, man? What's the point?" Because you see those huge artist products that are super popular and they are super loaded. I think we were talking about Beyonce as being the reference point. And I told him, look, yeah, Beyonce is super popular, but the way I see it, when it comes to music and the business side of things, there are two areas. You got those uberly gigantic acts, and you get the legit ones. And I use Joe Satriani as an example. Joe Satriani is a very fantastic guitar player. That is probably one of the top dogs when it comes to success. And nobody knows him. He was big enough during the 80s, and yeah, but it was because back in the day guitar was still king. But coming back to this, you got the Beyoncés and you got Joe Satrianis. Your Joe Satrianis will never be as rich as Beyoncé, never in a lifetime. But Beyoncé, once she's out of the game, she's forgotten forever. But in contrast, Joe Satriani is gonna be there forever. Why? Because he developed respect. Because he spent his time actually developing music that is meaningful and actually had a point that will make it eternal. I told him, I for one, I pursue my career in Joe Satriani's camp because I would like to be remembered as someone who actually contributed to music in a meaningful way. And he asked the question, so what does meaningful way stands for? I want to be able to produce the same effect that Satriani has on me, inspired me to become a better guitar player, a better composer, and as a byproduct, a better human being, because that means that I have to look at myself in the mirror. I'm looking that way because I have my guitar there, and realize how much I suck. Yeah. And looking at my own reflection in the mirror, and looking and realizing that what I see is the result of today, but it's also the promise for tomorrow. And if I put the effort, this what sucks will eventually shine. Where's my
beautiful?
Look at that! Look at that! Okay, so what do you think?
No, look, I agree, and I think we hold the legit great musicians to such a tremendous amount of respect, and we feel inspired by them because we know that music, real music
that doesn't suck,
is a reflection of the person.
Yes.
So if you respect the music, by definition you're already respecting the person. It doesn't mean that you have to agree with them. That's beyond the point. Okay, yeah. I'm talking about the impact of music.
You respect the human being.
Yeah, respect the human being because you know that person was capable of making that music that moves you.
Out of many things.
Yeah. And you can't fake that.
No.
That's unfakeable. Yeah. Because you're actually respecting the other human being because of what you know that he's capable of creating and of the impact that he has on you.
Yeah, and if you think about it, somehow we always put ourselves in their shoes. Even in a non necessarily conscious way. and you see probably the reason why we appreciate or everybody loves the idea of the underdog and the hero's journey, right? Because you put yourself in the shoes of the guy who goes through a struggle. And at least what happens to me when I see all of my heroes, I look at them like, get you, man. I can't imagine what happened.
Yeah.
Because if I've been through a lot, I'm still here. You're reaching that echelon of this path means that you have gone through the rest that I'm yet to go through.
Yeah.
But it's even more respect, if that makes sense to you.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's their deal.
Yeah, but that inspiration side of things is the one that makes them immortal.
Yeah.
Because that's the difference between, coming back to your example, Beyonce and Joe Satriani.
Yes.
Because that respect, that inspiration that Joe Satriani causes in countless guitar players around the world.
Yeah, and for generations now.
Yeah, is going to be cherished and carried with pride and passed down to the next generation by those who care.
And look, I even think that I like to mind that he also felt the same when he discovered Jimi Hendrix.
Yeah, more than like, well, sure.
It's a fact. It's a fact, man. Because the same what happened to, or think of sticking to guitar players. All of those who got into guitar out of Eddie Van Halen. It's that, man.
Yeah.
And Eddie Van Halen was inspired by. And you see, we're standing on the shoulder of giants. So part of being legit is also an act of humbleness. So if you think about it, right?
Yeah.
It's kind of like that. Yeah.
That respect.
This respect is out of actual respect. So there you got it. In a summary, I think the whole thing with legitimacy and success is the balancing act that I keep referring to. Not easy, and I think applies on an individual basis, because each act has its own ways, and every artist, as every rose has its thorns. No, that was lame. No, every artist has its own way to present their craft.
Yeah.
And some might not have to do that much of a balancing act because what they produce is already kind of commercially viable. What happens to Led Zeppelin and all of those guys? Because the audience, they probably were born in the right time, in the right place, at the right moment with the right people.
Yeah.
And some others, like us, we decided to follow the path that very few should have even considered. That's awful.
At the wrong time.
At the wrong time, in the wrong society. But wherever, it's part of the deal.
Yeah.
So we stick to our guns and finish the fight. And that applies to every single one of you watching, of course.
Yeah.
So don't quit.
Yeah. The thing is that we're in it together.
Yeah.
Not in the let's hold hands and
No. I'm gonna say it in this way. You always have to remember that only on death does duty ends.
That's very.
It's Warhammer.
Yeah, I know.
That's from the Dreadnoughts.
I
Okay.
think we got a comment going on there.
Smoking in G sharp. Just found your channel. Thanks, man. Stop. Thank you very much, man.
Yeah, thanks.
Thank you very much. We're here for the ride.
Yeah, and look, we have this kind of conversations on a weekly basis. Every Tuesday we're here at 5 p.m. Central, and we invite you to subscribe, ring the bell, because like that you can be notified whenever this happens. Not necessarily just talking to you. I'm talking to all of you.
Yes.
And if you would like to support us about what we do here, please leave a like, because YouTube love when people like stuff.
And actually, we have these conspiracy theories that Thin Folk had on their Third Fox Day moment. It seems that YouTube is no longer counting, allegedly, watch time or views as a measurement for videos to be promoted. So now they're using something that they call interactive engagement, which is basically speaking likes and comments. So yeah, please do it. Otherwise, it's gonna be tough.
Yeah.
Tougher than it already is. So with that being said, TechsCom.
Yeah, well, thank you for watching. It was great to have you guys here. Hope to see you guys next week. And I think there's only one thing left to be said, which is really that...
Join the Discord. We got a Discord link in the description down below, because that's where we keep the conversation going. We're starting to develop this nice community, and we have several different channels on it. I'm still a neophyte when it comes to Discord. But since we have other channels, one of them is focused on music production, and the other one is actually music analysis, in which I use some of my background as a music producer to showcase some of the tricks done on music that is good, that doesn't suck, and explain it to you. So yeah, stick around, because tomorrow we're releasing a video, right?
Yes.
It's gonna be reacting or analyzing Black Sabbath's Mob Rules. Badass.
Excellent.
Yeah, so yeah, but those are just join the Discord because that's where we actually have the conversation going. Okay.
The central hub for
The
everything.
central hub for everything. Yes. So and also the tips and tricks related to music production and stuff also are shared there. Plus the videos. Okay. So with that being said, every time we meet you, we remind you that you should never let anybody tell you what to do. And thank you, Roman, for your kind words. And remember that we'll see you when we see you.